Love is where identity hides the deepest, not in conflict, not in ambition, not in discipline, in love, because love feels sacred, important, personal. And the moment something feels personal, ownership tries to attach. My partner, my child, my family, my friend. The language sounds innocent, but under it something subtle can grow. Expectation, control, fear of loss, fear of change, fear of being replaced. Season 10 is about participating without becoming. And nowhere is this more delicate than in intimacy. Because the ego doesn't show up loudly in love. It shows up quietly, as attachment disguised as devotion, as control disguised as care, as possession disguised as protection. Let's start simple. What happens inside you when someone you love changes? Not leaves, not betrays, just changes. Their interests shift, their personality evolves, their priorities move, their energy alters. Does something tighten? Does your mind start scanning for what it means? Do you feel slightly destabilized? That's not wrong. It's human. But notice what exactly feels threatened. Often, it's the image you held of them, the version of them that fit your structure, the predictable pattern. When love is fused with ownership, change feels dangerous. When love is participation, change feels natural. You're not holding a fixed version of someone. You're relating to a living human, and living humans evolve. Ownership in love sounds like, they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't feel that. They should be more like. Why aren't they the same as before? Even subtle expectations carry weight, and expectation is often where resentment grows. You don't resent people for being themselves. You resent them for not matching the version you held. Participation-based love says, I relate to who you are now, not, I need you to stay how I prefer. That doesn't mean you tolerate everything. It means you respond to reality instead of clinging to memory. Let's bring this into parenting. Your child grows. They develop opinions. They challenge you. They express themselves differently than you expected. If love is ownership, you tighten. You try to steer their identity. You try to shape their personality. You react to their autonomy as rebellion. But if love is participation, you guide without gripping. You set boundaries without suppressing individuality. You correct behavior without crushing expression. You let them grow. You don't try to own their path. Ownership feels protective. Participation feels steady. Children feel the difference. Now let's bring this into romantic partnership. Love without ownership does not mean indifference. It does not mean detachment. It does not mean emotional distance. It means you do not treat the other person as an extension of yourself. Their emotions are theirs. Their growth is theirs. Their friendships are theirs. Their internal process is theirs. You can support. You can listen. You can contribute. But you do not merge identities. You do not collapse into control. Ownership in love often shows up as anxiety. You monitor tone. You overanalyze messages. You feel unsettled when attention shifts. You subtly try to influence behavior to feel secure. Participation-based love regulates internally first. You feel insecurity. You breathe. You communicate cleanly. You don't manipulate to feel safe. Here's the hard truth. Love without ownership requires emotional independence, not emotional isolation. Independence, which means you can feel discomfort without demanding immediate reassurance. You can feel jealousy without projecting blame. You can feel fear without controlling behavior. That's maturity, and it's difficult because attachment is biological. Humans bond deeply, but bonding does not require possession. Bonding requires presence. There's also a subtle identity trap here. Some people build identity around being needed, being the stable one, being the caretaker, being the rescuer. If the other person grows more independent, something inside feels displaced. If they need you less, you may unconsciously create situations where they need you again. That's ownership through role. Participation-based love says, I'm here, not, you depend on me. You can contribute deeply without making yourself essential to someone's survival. That's love without ego attachment. Let's talk about fear of loss. Ownership is often rooted in fear. If I don't hold tightly, I'll lose them. If I don't monitor, something will go wrong. If I don't secure this, it might disappear. But gripping rarely secures anything. It usually creates pressure. Pressure creates distance. Distance triggers more gripping. It becomes a cycle. Participation-based love says, I can't control permanence. I can only participate honestly now. That doesn't remove risk. Love always includes risk, but it removes illusion of control. This doesn't mean tolerating betrayal. It doesn't mean ignoring boundaries. Love without ownership still requires clarity. If something violates your values, you address it. If something harms the relationship, you speak. But you don't attempt to own someone's behavior. You respond to it. Ownership tries to dictate. Participation responds. There's a nervous system element here too. If your love feels anxious, your body stays slightly activated. Scanning, monitoring, anticipating. If your love feels steady, your body softens. You can rest even while connected. You can give space without panic. You can allow silence without spiraling. That steadiness makes intimacy deeper, because the other person feels trusted, and people grow in environments of trust, not control. Here's something subtle. Ownership often disguises itself as intensity. I just love deeply. I care a lot. I'm passionate. But intensity is not the same as depth. Depth is steady. Ownership is reactive. Depth remains through fluctuation. Ownership spikes and crashes. Participation-based love doesn't need constant reassurance. It's grounded. Let's make this practical. This week, notice where you subtly try to control someone you love. Through tone, through suggestion, through guilt, through withdrawal, through overhelping. Not dramatically, just slightly. Then pause. Instead of steering, ask. Instead of gripping, breathe. Instead of assuming, clarify. See what happens when you loosen control. Notice if your system panics. If it does, that's identity dissolving. Stay steady. Season 10 keeps building this layered strength. Care without carrying. Conflict without identity. Building without becoming. Authority without armor. Discipline without self-punishment. Speaking without defending. Now loving without ownership. Strong spine. Soft heart. Clear boundaries. Open hands. Not gripping. Not collapsing. Just participating in relationship as it unfolds. There is something profoundly mature about loving someone without trying to possess them. It's quieter, steadier, feels less dramatic, but it's deeper because it's free. Not free from commitment, free from control. You choose them, they choose you, each day, not because they're owned, because they're here, and you're here, participating. Next episode, we'll explore moving forward without narrative, because even love can become part of a story we try to protect. If this episode resonated, share it with someone navigating relationships. And if you're ready to love without gripping, stay here. Season 10 continues.